Good morning, YouTube. Welcome to RV Daydream, and I'm going to talk about all the things that I found that I just don't quite like on our new 2020 Rockwood. You knew I was going to come up with something.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
Before we start, you guys should know how picky I am. I'm just very, very, very picky when it comes to stuff. And I think that most people should be on some level. I want to make sure that I reiterate one point though. I love this RV. This is the RV we looked for 3.5 years. We found this model 2.5 years, about 2 years ago, somewhere in that range. And we waited just a little bit longer because there was a couple of dislikes, but there was some things that they improved upon. So we bought it, and I love the RV. Heidi loves the RV. However, you guys need to know there's things that may not be the best, and I don't know if these are going to hit base with you or not, but let's talk about them. Okay, so first let me tell you about the RV and what it is. This is a 2020 Rockwood 2604WS. This is a model that has a rear living plan, double doors, and is under 30 foot in length and relatively light, fully loaded with 2,000 pounds worth of cargo. This thing weighs about 8,800 pounds. Whenever it's not loaded all up empty, it's just over 6,000 pounds. So the RV was definitely in the length and the weight that we wanted. However, there were some deficiencies, like all RVs. Like I mentioned before on RVs, whenever you're shopping, you're going to be hitting 75 to 80%, maybe 85%, depending how picky you are, of what the RV has to offer. That's about the best you're going to do. Unless you custom make one from the ground up yourself, you're not going to get everything that you want. And even then, I bet that there's going to be some things that you're lacking, even if you customize it yourself. But that doesn't mean it can't be a great RV. So let's get right into the list. Number one, there's no bubble levels on here. There's no level at all anywhere on this RV, inside or out. Glued on, cheap ones, screwed on, expensive ones, mounted digital ones. There's no bubble level. So whenever we have to level this thing out, we've got to, resort to carrying a level. Inside, in the RV, in the bedroom, we're standing at the doorway. And this is the framework that comes with those steps that drop down, which we love the steps. But the very first day we were in this and we were moving some stuff in here, of course I was walking around in socks and I hit my toe on this frame. That frame just sticks out, and it's hard metal, and boy did that hurt. So I kind of hate that. I don't like that the frame protrudes out into an area in which you have to walk. You're walking around a bed, you can kind of see the distance there, and yeah, that's not good. The third thing that I hate about this, and this is for most RVs though that are 50 amp service, man, this cord is heavy. This is just a heavy cord to be manipulating, and all that weight hangs off this RV straight on. They should include a 90-degree adapter from the factory or on the end of the cord so that you don't have it coming straight out. I mean, why would you want this to be supported way out here and then drop down? So yeah, you have to buy an adapter, but man, why do these cords have to be so big and heavy and unmanageable for the most part? I understand 50 amps, but wow. As far as the baggage doors locks and the original locks that we had on our doors, the keys were just incredibly hard to get in there. Originally, I had to spray lubricant inside the locks and the tumblers and just work them and make sure that they were well lubricated. I know how new keys should feel. I mean, new keys are a little stubborn normally with new locks until they learn each other. However, these were just ridiculous. We're moving back inside and we're moving into the bedroom because we optioned in the second air conditioner. This is a 15,000 BTU air conditioner, and it has a built-in heat strip option, and they call it a chill chaser. It don't chase the chill. It actually warms up the air. The problem is the air that's blowing out of it is pretty much making you cooler than if you didn't have any air blowing out, because that heat strip, it's not a furnace replacement. They say it right in the instructions. Well, It's not a heating source of any kind, really. You couldn't get this air conditioner without that, but I think it's kind of a joke. It just doesn't work too well. This mattress is extremely firm. It is not that it's a bad mattress. We were thinking about putting a topper on, but the problem is right now as it stands, when we go boondocking, we can open the doors and access whatever's inside the cabinets, as far as wardrobe, without putting the wardrobe slide out. If we put a mattress topper on there, it will hit. So we got to be really concerned with how tall of a mattress we have here. The alternative, of course, is not getting into the wardrobe whenever we stop somewhere and we leave the slide in. But firm mattress. Since I've replaced these door latches, the door has definitely gotten better. However, when we first got this, I don't know if it's because the seals were so new or if the latches were misadjusted, but we were going to just keep on using them the way that we got them from the factory. But Heidi had a real hard time, so did other people, to even get into this door, and the back door was kind of tough also. Basically, you had to push in on the door and pull the lever, and even now, you can see it's a real positive latch that's going on there, and I think that might work out over time, but when you first get it, expect the doors to be really tight to open. One of the options we were really happy to get, in addition to the heating of the tanks using the furnace and the ductwork that's already down there, and the fact that the belly's enclosed, we got heated tanks. And not only heated tanks, but there's some heated pads that go on the pipes that come from the tanks to keep that pretty much from freezing also. The problem with heated tanks is you're not supposed to necessarily run the heating pads without water in your tanks. So although you may have a freshwater tank that's full, your gray water tank may be empty and your black water tank may be empty, and you may not want to run necessarily a lot of water in there just so you can turn on your heated tank switch. One switch for 3 separate tanks, I don't think that's a great idea. Another thing that we've always suffered with is the accuracy of these tanks. The other day, Heidi and I was simulating, again, out camping, but in the driveway just to work out some of the bugs, and it showed that we had 1/3 of a freshwater tank. So I took a shower and everything was fine. Then Heidi started taking her shower and she shortchanged herself because she thought she sensed a little bit of air in the line, and she was absolutely right because it didn't have 1/3 in it and the tank actually went empty. So when I checked it later, it still showed that there was 1/3 of a tank. So the next day I came out and checked it and it still showed there was 1/3 of a tank. So I went to the fresh water drain and I pulled it, and that low point drain let maybe half a gallon out, if that. And at that point I came back in and it did read empty. So the fact that it was empty or had half a gallon in it and it was still reading 1/3, I didn't like that at all. Again, we were in transport mode the other day. You can see some stuff fell off the bench seat whenever I was taking it out for a drive. And the slide is in. However, the fact that there's a slide there, you would think that they'd have a way or find a way to put electricity, park electricity, 110 voltage electricity on the slide somewhere. They do have 12 volt power for the lights, which are plentiful, and we don't have any problems with that. There's a couple of reading lights here, and then this light, and then the dome light for the table. However, there's no outlets to plug in a computer, and there's none really close. If you look back here, there's a couple that are right there. However, I can't reach the dinette table with my laptop with a cord once this slide is out, unless I run it in front where everybody's going to be at. So the only electrical outlet that I have available to me is behind the TV set, which is basically behind that window we're looking at on the side of the slide. So I wish there was another outlet that would allow us to connect a laptop that we'll be working on exclusively, and chargers galore. I have all kinds of stuff that I'll be plugging in over here on the table that I need an outlet for that's not up here, that I have to string a cord across. It's just not good thinking there. While we're looking at this, I noticed that the table doesn't move around a lot whenever we're transporting. However, you have to pull the table out a little ways if you want to leave it up. And even then, I don't know if it's guaranteed that that table's going to stay there during your transport. If you have the table in where it normally is, it hits up against the window. And the only thing that's protecting the screen and the window is the day-night shade, the plastic divider that you put your hands on to pull them down. That's kind of a buffer there. Sure would like to have a fixed table that I didn't have to worry about, or at least one that could be easily changed from sleeping to using as a table without it worrying about during transportation which way it's set. You know, up, down, out, away from the window, that kind of thing. The other thing that we noticed is whenever we have this pull-out sofa out, you know, to where it's a bed, it's relatively a decent bed. It's not the best bed in the world, but people could sleep on it. The one thing that I noticed, though, is there's no under-bed storage at all. And the other thing is the bed's relatively short. Well, I find it's kind of funny because whenever the couch is actually being utilized as a bed, there's still plenty of room that you could walk around without worrying about this cabinet. But at that point, I don't know how much walking around you need to do whenever the bed's out. So I would like to have seen the bed a little bit longer, or I would have liked to have seen a jackknife sofa of some kind that offered storage underneath. I like the window, the fact that there are windows on the sides of the slides. Every RV we looked at, we always commented how whenever they have a solid wall, it really makes things feel closed in. Even though there might be bigger windows on the slide, it just seems like that it's a little bit nicer when you have windows that you can look out. Like in my case, if I'm sitting on the dinette on either side, you can look out these windows. However, as far as a cross breeze, thank God we have two MaxxAir fans. Whenever it's in a locked position, this is all the bigger the opening is. Not very good there. The other thing that I noticed is they don't take advantage of all their storage opportunities. For example, behind this cabinet, there's actually space to where they could have offered cubbies here. And I'm not sure why they did it. They made it to where this is just a wall. The same with underneath the TV set that you currently can't see. There's a couple of doors there, and although it's access to some things, there was the ability to put some kind of a shelf in there. Maybe a removable shelf or a removable cubby or tote or something. For example, there is storage underneath this entire bench seat from here to the wall. And that side, you can utilize it by accessing it either from the outside, there's a hatch, or this door here, which you can access all the storage underneath there. Of course, you can lift the bench top and you can get to that storage too. Same with the storage on this side. However, I'm not sure why they didn't put a full-length drawer in there. This drawer only goes back just a short ways. Now, this is something that we pointed out during our RV shopping over and over again, that we didn't think that we would really care for, and yet we ended up getting a model that had these features that we were trying to avoid. And I'm looking at this side because I'm looking at noise. Now, there's not going to be a situation where you're always sitting outside when a lot of this stuff is running. However, that's what we're thinking about when we talk about noise while you're under the awning. So let's say we put the awning out, we've got a couple of chairs. If my hot water tank is running on propane, guess what? I get to hear it. If we've got the furnace on inside to break some chill, you know, to get it a little bit warmer in there, maybe in the morning, you're going to hear the furnace running. If your refrigerator is running on propane, although it's not very loud at all, you still could possibly hear it. If you've got the stove on inside and somebody's sitting outside like myself, guess what? That's the vent for the stove. You're going to hear it. So you could see all the noise that could be generated. And not only that, but what if you stood something up here and you had this running? It could be an issue. Well, I'll show you one issue for sure. That rubber stopper is all that stops this door from being too close to the heat coming out of the water heater. That could discolor the door. That could be an issue. While we're on the water heater, I'm not a big fan of these. Yeah, that's not a drain plug. That's an anode rod. With all the minerals that are in water and you heating the water, you could potentially have a corrosion issue inside of your tank. And what they do is they actually make a sacrificial piece, and that's what this is. This is a piece that is designed to attract all of those weird things, not always, but there's times that if you've got enough minerals and you've got the right minerals, you can get a really stinky sulfur smell from your water, and I don't necessarily want that. We're going to run this anode rod and see if we run into that situation, but I know with our water that we have in our house, we definitely had that situation. Everybody in this area pulls the anode rods out of their hot water tanks so their house water doesn't smell like rotten eggs. I love the ladder that it's here. I don't like the way the ladder feels. Although it's been supporting me, I have a feeling that it could potentially fail. It just feels a little bit on the weaker side. And the reason that I'm bringing this up, and the only reason I know this could be better, is if you go to a Lance camper, any of the Lance RVs, they have an unbelievable ladder on the back that feels so solid when you grab it. And quite honestly, I'm a big guy, and I don't want this thing to fail. And especially on Heidi, if she climbs it, I don't want it to fail on her. So I wish it was a better ladder. I don't care for the spare tire on the back. I'm glad that it's here because they gave me a spare, and the hardcover is very nice. I think the hardcover is a very nice touch to make it look nice. However, I don't like it back there overall aesthetically, and I don't like it back there mechanically. I don't want anything on the back bumper that I don't put on there that is going to be utilized for my usage. And the fact that this RV is relatively high, it's not uncommon for a lot of the RVs to have storage underneath for their spare tire. Since we're underneath the RV at this point, I want to point out how inexpensive this siding is that's on the RV. This is just pretty much fascia. This is all it's held together with. It's just some sort of real thin aluminum rod, and it's just kind of screwed to the RV. I mean, it's just really inexpensive the way that it feels. You would think it'd be more substantial, but I understand it's the save on weight. But I just really found it interesting that it looks so nice from the outside, and yet it's so plastic feeling and cheap tinny feeling right through here. We're looking at the tires, and most of you probably think, oh yeah, they put these junky tires on there. I dislike the fact that they don't put the best tires that you can buy. I mean, if the Goodyear Endurance or one of the Michelin 8-plies or 10-ply tires are available for RVs, wouldn't you just want to put those on for your customers? I mean, they offer some of the best axles on this RV with the Torflex axles from Dexter, but why would you even bother, you know, putting a tire on that could potentially be substandard? All right, so now let's talk about this huge compartment, this luggage compartment. The other side of the RV has a flip up door, and the reason is because they don't have to worry about a wardrobe slide that could be out. So they made this one swing. The problem with that, if the wind catches this, which it's doing right now, there's nothing stopping it from slamming back here. I don't know if you can tell, but the only thing stopping it is the lens of that light and my docking light switch also. Yeah, that's not a good design. Coming back inside, this is a metal blind, which is kind of required by law since it's so close to the fire source that's known as the stove. And one of the things is it has a really nice little crank window. However, why is it that it hits? It hits the blind. I have to actually disconnect this blind and that point open it up and then reconnect the blind. That's not a good design, and it could be that they just mounted this one wrong. Looking at this screen door here, I love it personally because it's a full screen door. There's a lot of air circulation that could potentially come through this. There's not a guard at the bottom or even halfway up for any kind of a pet. So if you have pets, this could be a dislike. But my main dislike is this here. That screen won't come back. If we have the main door open like we have a tendency to do, and I decide to go out and back in again, I've got to physically close the screen door. I know that seems so minor, but my 92 had springs on it, so I'm going to go ahead and buy the $8 spring kit and mount it on myself. It's just ridiculous they didn't offer that. I mean, there's really no reason not to put those springs on there other than the fact that they're worried about when people are walking in and out that the door might be closing on them. Well, guess what? if you open it all the way, it ain't coming back. I don't care what kind of spring's on there. This is the water pump access. The reason we're looking at this is because of something that I think they could have done better. They really needed to secure these hoses a little better. Because of the hoses and the way that they touch on that wooden panel, you can guess it's pretty much a big drum. And when these hoses are running, especially those back there even, it bounces around, it vibrates, and it hammers. It makes quite a bit of a noise. As you can see, we did run out of water. That's why the filter only has half in there. But yeah, if they would have just changed the routing of these hoses, or secured the hoses to each other, or put some sort of a foam in there or something, it would have been so much better. And seriously, 2020, and we still got this CH751. Man, they've got to get some new stuff. Luckily, it only accesses the water and the shower. Everything else has a unique key for the cargo doors, but yeah, I think that's kind of goofy. I don't understand that. The other thing I don't really care for is the light that's over here to help with hookup and disconnection and stuff. This thing blinds you at night. There should be more of an angle pointing down on the RV to the stuff that you want to see, and that's not it. So we might be changing the way this light shines somehow. Maybe something that's more of a porch light that has more of a downward angle. And really, the light doesn't do anything underneath here at all. So I wish that there was a way, and I'm sure there is, that if I flip this switch on, not only does it turn on the light to illuminate everything here, but maybe you turn on a light underneath here so I can see these valves easily. You guys knew I'd probably complain about this jack at some point, because I really love that Husky jack that we had before. The one thing that I don't care for though is my old Husky jack had a limiter, a shutoff limiter. So when I got to the top of the jack, it just didn't bury the motor. And what I mean by that, there's nothing to shut off the power to the motor, and it just stops it. It just torques it till it stops. It puts the motor at its limit. Instead of having a limit off switch that says, okay, the jack is all the way up, shut off power, that would have been nice. And it's the same with the stabilizer jacks too. They really should have added that, to where when the stabilizer jack comes all the way up, once it's to the top, that the power's cut to the motors to let it know we're to the top, quit jacking on us. This one we're going to stand back a little ways. Those AC units that are up on top, the profile is very bulky. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not very aerodynamic. It's very tall. And I know that they make much smaller, much slimmer air conditioning units, and I really wish that this one would have that too. I mean, you could gain at least 2 inches as far as the height of the RV and being able to go under a bridge if you just had a low profile unit up there. Okay, you guys have been waiting for this. One of the reasons I might hate these steps. The only way that you could put steps up or down is have this door darn near all the way open, because this has to clear whenever it goes up. So here's the big negative to these steps. The awning cannot be out, at least for this door. That door's not a problem, but this door, you can't do it. I know it's really dark in here, but right now all we're focusing on is this TV set. And this was an option. The same with the TV set that's in the living area, which is a little bigger. They're both the same brand. However, on a 2020 model, and this isn't a cheap model, this is a middle of the road model, I find it amazing that they do not make these that are powered by 12 volts. These are still plug in the wall, regular household AC TVs. Now they are low power LED TVs, and they are 1080 quality, but they're only 1080i quality, but they're not 12 volt. And I'm really upset that they aren't 12 volt, for the fact that if you're boondocking, guess what? You're going to be running off a battery. And a 12 volt LED TV wouldn't draw that much from your battery. However, running a converter and having a way to power the electricity inside the RV, that will make it to where it's a little bit difficult and you may not even want to watch TV. The other thing, and this is getting into a money thing, this TV here was a $590 option. This is a 24-inch TV. It's not very big, and it's an Insignia brand. I could buy this TV for roughly $90 on Amazon. So is that a $410 bracket that's holding it to the wall? Or is that another $50 item and it was $400 for the labor? I'm not sure, but that seems like an awful lot for an option. And again, the one in the living room is also an Insignia, and that one can be bought for roughly $110, $120 on Amazon. So I wish they would have stepped up and given me a 12-volt TV. That would have been nice. Okay, moving into the bathroom, there's just a couple of things here. They give you a towel bar, and they also give you a toilet paper mount, and they don't mount it for you. Some people may not like that. I don't have a problem with it. It's not a disadvantage for me. However, if you're not handy with finding out where stuff is supposed to be mounted based off studs and stuff like that, you may like it if they would have done the mounting for you. But moving a little bit further into the bathroom, there's a couple of things I want to point out. I wish this would have had a shelf of some kind on it to keep things from falling off when you're traveling. Now, in our case, we have these little plastic totes. We've had these things forever. We're going to go ahead and secure them up there to where they won't fall. And we can put stuff in there that will stay up there while we're traveling. It's not going to be hard to do. Maybe some Velcro or something to keep them there. But I wish that would have been thought out a little bit better. Also, this space here. They could have put another, hand towel over here, I guess. Or it made the medicine cabinet bigger. I just wish it would have been bigger. There is space here that can be used for something. Maybe we'll end up hanging some sort of a shelving system here. But yeah, the medicine cabinet's fair, but it's not even as big as the one that we just had in our old RV with that little tiny bathroom. Now let's talk about something as simple as this right here. We used this in our old RV. And basically, this is for Heidi to put in her contacts or do her makeup or whatever the case may be. And it goes on the mirror. Of course, we can't put it on this mirror because, this opens. But here's the thing. We had a lot of stuff that we used in our old bathroom that were hanging, being supported, used, however you want to say it, by suction cups. Basic suction cups like these that lock into place. And they do a really good job. Well, if you look in here, other than that mirror right there, this countertop has a marbling to it, and there are some grains. This has some sort of marbling to it, some kind of a texture. All this glass is all bumpy. The whole inside, outside, it's all bumpy. So we can't put it on anything there. We can't put it on the walls like we did the old one because all this is bumpy. This is textured. It has a texture to it. These are, of course, you can see have lines in them. It's textured inside here, although smoother on the outside. It's bumpy. There's bumps to it. And we can't get a suction cup to grab. And we can't put it on the walls. So it's kind of crappy that there's so much bumpy material here. I mean, even the floor is kind of textured. It's got dimples in it to help with, you sliding around. So that's something I wish they would have changed out. Made it to where there was a couple of smooth surfaces somewhere to mount stuff. Now, it's not a big deal. They make that command hook stuff and double-sided stuff that can handle water and all that. It's just a matter of it would have been easier if we could just used our old suction cups. So, looking at the furnace here, there's zone 1 and zone 2. And that's mainly for the air conditioning part. Because zone 2 is just that heat strip. And I already talked about that heat strip and how good it does. Zone 1, of course, controls the furnace. It's not really just the zone 1 heating. It heats the whole RV if you've got the furnace turned on. And the reason is because you can't close any of the vents. There's heating vents that's underneath the slide here. There's 3 of them. If it's hot in the living room, maybe the dining area is a little bit warmer than over there, you can't turn off the vent. You can't flip a lever and close the vent. It's pretty standard on most RVs, but I find it kind of funny that that vent for the bathroom, this vent for the bedroom, in addition to the 3 vents that are in the living area, cannot be turned off. They can't be closed, nothing. So if you've got the furnace running, you're going to be heating the entire place. Now, I'm sure I could just throw a rug or something over one of the vents, and that would help out, but I just don't like that. I don't know if there's a reason behind that, if they're worried about overheating tanks or not heating the tanks enough or something. I'm not sure. I know that airflow has to happen for those tanks to stay heated down there. But again, I'm not sure what the reason is. Forest River gives you this really nice envelope that's in the refrigerator whenever they ship it to the dealer, and it covers all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of manuals in here, but a lot of it is just sales jargon. Nothing that's specifically telling you step by step how stuff works. Now, there are exceptions to that, to like the cooktop, the furnace, the refrigerator, of course the stuff that runs on gas. They definitely want to tell you exactly how all that stuff works. Some of these manuals they do give you, like in this case, for this radio that's kind of hidden back there, you can't see it. This is probably one of the poorest manuals I've seen. It's just confusing. It's very, very confusing. But more importantly than that, and more that I dislike than that, is my 1992 Terry, going back to that old RV, had a really nice owner's manual, just like a car manual. It told you all about the RV, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. One of the things was that I found in that old 92 RV manual was how much tongue weight you could put on the Terry max. And if I didn't know that, I wouldn't have been able to do that generator mount thing. I could have easily gone over. And the same with the weight distribution bars. It said on that Terry, I could only put 750-pound torsion bars or weight distribution bars on that Terry channel that I had on there. It said that if it was a 4.5 or a 5.5 inch channel, C channel, you could only go so far. And it listed a whole bunch of other stuff. Basic information for most people that may not know anything about RVs. That's why they give cars owner's manuals, so you can read through it and have all the information you need. Well, there is no owner's manual for this RV. Yeah, they need to put a big, thick owner's manual covering this thing, talking about how much weight we can put in the slide, when the slide is in, if it's an issue, if you step on this, and what you should do instead. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that could have been addressed in a manual. I'm moving back here while it's dark to show you these lights. These are right above your head, and I know you're not going to be able to tell, but maybe you can. That will blind you. That is way too bright for an over-the-bed light. I'm assuming that's like a reading lamp. We're going to have to do something about that, because that puts a blue dot in your eyeball right before you fall asleep. That's crazy. Back to the air conditioners. Whenever I pulled this open to take a look up inside here at the filters and what it looked like overall in general, I could not believe how much foam spray that was used for insulation and sealing off this big, thick 4-inch foam roof insulation that they used, and it oozed out, and it actually was blocking the air conditioning vents. It was blocking the return air back up into the unit. So I had to take a knife and just trim around. I got a couple of photos of that. I couldn't believe, I mean, it wasn't crazy, but for something that needs to run as hard as it does, whenever you get into some serious heat, you would think that that would have been looked at or thought about. So as you know, whenever you get done camping for the day or the week or whatever it is, and it's time for you to empty your tanks, you pull your RV up to the dump station, but almost all of them have the dump valve on the driver's side of the vehicle. So now you're going to put your hose on your dump valve, and you're going to go ahead and run it over to the hole that's going to be the place that you're going to dump everything into, and you're going to go ahead and go through your routine. At that point, you're going to want to flush your black tank. So let's look for the black tank flush. Well, no, that's where the city water goes in. No, that's for antifreeze inlet. That's for you to winterize it. And no, that's where I fill my freshwater tank. No, that's where you hook up your cable. Well, I don't want to take a shower, maybe later after I deal with all the septic, but not this one. And no, that's the water. So wait a minute, I want to flush my black water. This says, hey, I have a black tank flush. I've got the hose here now at the RV park, and it's for rinsing off everything, but also there's an outlet there that I can hook up to and do my black tank flush. Oh, wait a minute. That's right, they're going to put it over here where you might be cooking food. This is a food prep thing here. I don't like to mess with anything black tank related that's anywhere near me except over on the septic side. And I understand that the sprayers that are built into the tank are probably on this side, but why didn't they just run the plumbing so that you could hook it up over there? So now I'm in the situation where I've got to get another hose, a longer hose, and I got to hook it up to the flush at the dump station, and I got to throw it underneath the RV and connect it over here so I can flush my black tanks from over here. I don't understand that one at all. That just doesn't make any sense. So, did I cover everything? What do you think? I am picky. It's one of those things that it just is something that could have been a little bit better in my case. Some of them are more serious than others, but I love the RV. I want you guys to realize that I love the RV. I'm sure you're saying to yourself, how could you love anything? You just picked out all that stuff that was wrong. No, I love the RV. Yeah, great RV, but those are all my dislikes, and I hope I've chopped this down as short as I can. Feel free to comment if you've got something on your RV that you don't like. I know a lot of these things can be addressed and fixed on my own, but you know what? I'm going to just run with it the way it is right now. I just wanted to tell you about the things that I don't like about this RV. Yeah, that's right. You cannot like some things and still love it overall. I appreciate it, guys, and as always, I hope to see you out there. Bye.